everyone, my name is Luna and I'm here to break down everything that happened in episode 3 of EXU Divergence, Mirror and Key. There is so much juicy lore to unpack in this episode, but before we get into it, this video is brought to you by my patrons. I appreciate all of you so much. If you'd like to support the channel and become a patron to help me continue making these videos, you can sign up for as little as $2 a month at patreon.com/Luboffin. And if you sign up at the $5 plus tiers, you get access to some bonus videos. Last month I published one about note-taking tips for your games. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out. So we meet with our band of little level 1 heroes as the sun rises over a lush, fertile valley near Torm's Hill.
Nez, one of the matriarchs of Torm's Hill, going, it was Briar and Ash alone. There was nothing there. What?
I've been trying to work out where this valley could be in present-day Exandria, but I don't know if it's marked on any of the maps in Tal'Dorei Reborn. We know that Torm's Hill is at the southern end of the Stormpoint Mountains, so I'm guessing that the valley is now part of the Rifen jungle, which we see the origins of a bit later. So everyone in the party is level 1 now, except for Garen. Instead, he has the feature Wisdom of the Earth, which allows him to add 1d12 inspiration die to checks regarding to terrain and structures, something that came in handy this episode a few times, actually. Plus, if Garen goes anywhere that he has an ancestral connection to, the land can take whatever shape Garen wishes.
Sorry, I realized while I was editing this that I'm pretty sure the entire video I say Garen instead of Garen. I'm so sorry. Yep. Just noticed. Don't know why I did that.
Matt is certainly playing this character as sort of the reluctant hero who seems torn between wanting to lay down his hammer and rest as an old man, and also to look out for his friends and continue on their journey with them. And I don't know, I'm really enjoying watching him roleplay those contradictions. The group get ready to head out to Snowgrave Pass to look for Nia's sister Liana, and many other people in the settlement are also packing up their belongings and readying themselves to travel to the valley to start a new life. Phaedra says goodbye to Otto and Tavine, telling them to stay in Torm's Hill and look out for Nez, Clasara, and the people here.
You see Otto smiles and says, we'll make sure they're okay.
I know you will.
You're so sweet. It's nice to know that if anyone shows up that doesn't see how wonderful their kindness is, we'll kick the shit out of them.
Yeah, you will. I'm so proud of you.
Cosworld tells Crocus that he'll look out for the little Dragonborn kids, who give Crocus a big hug. Celeste also embraces him and gives him a rusted amulet, an old symbol of the knowing mentor. The amulet is made up of 2 hands sort of held together, but whatever they're holding is missing, something that we'll come back to later. Celeste tells Crocus to remember to see himself as he truly is and not how other people see him. Aero says goodbye to Nez, warning her that more of the Strife Emperor's followers will likely show up, but she says the people here will be ready and they will not kneel again now that Aero and the others have shown them how to stand. They begin to travel towards Snowgrave Pass and the air becomes colder as they travel up the mountains. Eventually they reach a crevasse going down several hundred feet, and from the dark below they can hear scratching and rattling sounds, and Crocus sees through the gloom that there are hundreds of animated skeletons trying to crawl out and slowly breaking their bones apart as they do so. This is the remnants of an undead army, and beyond the crevasse there is evidence of more skeletons who were destroyed. That was such a creepy scene. It really felt like something out of a zombie movie. I'm glad they didn't have to actually fight them or try and get over them or anything, but it was a really cool bit of just world building. They backtrack and find a way around the crevasse, reaching the base of Snowgrave Pass. Last time Aero was here, it was a clear path, however now the way is blocked by an obsidian watchtower. It's unclear if there's anyone inside, however the group don't want to take any chances, so they try to sneak around. A voice, however, calls out from the tower and they meet a small, cowardly goblin.
Who are you?
I am the captain of the watchtower, the Snowgrave Watch. I am a proud servant of the Strife Emperor.
All right, Captain, and how many of your men are up there with you?
All of them.
This goblin is called Captain Gubbling, and he is alone and starving. Nia proposes a trade, weaponry in exchange for food. The captain says he's supposed to arrest them, but he believes trading with them for food wouldn't go against his oath to the Strife Emperor. He comes down to meet them with a bag of weapons. Aero tells the captain that the Strife Emperor is no more, and he replies that he thought something strange was afoot as he witnessed a battle recently that took place between a being of pure light and another of dark shadows.
And the being turned, and without opening its mouth, simply glowed with light, and I could hear its voice in my heart asking me if I believed in a world where all beings should be free and know peace and joy. I, of course, verbally reaffirmed my commitment to the Strife Emperor, but I could not stop my heart from betraying those values of conquest and tyranny I have devoted my life to, and I am afraid I answered that shining thing in the affirmative. Yes, I like joy. Who doesn't like joy? You sort of have to.
They tell Captain Gubbling, or Gubbling as he just becomes, that since the Strife Emperor is no more, he can follow his own heart, a prospect that he finds stressful. Garen asks how many he's slain in the name of the Emperor, and he weeps and replies none. Garen pats him on the shoulder and tells him that his heart is already on the right path. They tell him that he can start again in the settlements being founded in the valley, and he takes off his symbol of the Strife Emperor and casts it off.
I tore it off because I'm a coward and didn't want to be shot on sight. But I won't lie. It felt good for a different reason, too. It's just very hard when you realize you've wasted your life.
Not a waste.
I've spent my life groveling to the cruelest people I know, who look at me with more disdain and cruelty than those that I have just met, and for whom the symbol I proudly served was a symbol of all of their woes. I will hate myself for a time.
Not too long, though. You've known great cruelty. You've seen great kindness. Choose which path you continue to walk on. Now that you have that choice.
Brennan goes on to say that it's impossible to know if this goblin will actually make a change and move towards a kinder way of being, or if he will be influenced once again by the Strife Emperor's forces and fall back into that existence. So Gubbling departs and the group settle in the watchtower to rest for the night. Ero looks out over the landscape and sees a lake in the distance, a place of great significance to him, which we will get to later. Garen finds a breastplate and works on it, removing the symbol of the Strife Emperor. As he does so, he notices a chunk of stone of the watchtower that is chipped and cracked, and he recognizes it as the one which fell on him a long time ago and crushed his arm. He takes out his chisel and carves the symbol of the Allhammer into the stone, a symbol of hope and creation. Later that evening, Nia, who has been unable to sleep, wanders in the watchtower and sees a beam of moonlight hitting the symbol of the Allhammer and has a sense of two siblings being reunited. The next day, Ero leads them through the mountains towards the lake. When they arrive, he goes to a large stone sticking up out of the shore of the lake and he falls to his knees, and we learn the story of Ero. He tells the group how he used to live in another continent across the sea, Isilra, in Seagate, with his parents Aridio and Kor. They were followers of the Platinum Dragon, and they helped refugees arriving by boat who wanted to get to Vasselheim. Vasselheim is the oldest city in Exandria and is a place founded in worship of the gods, so it makes sense that it would be a place that many would seek to get to during the Calamity. Unfortunately, though, when Ero was young, the Lord of the Hells and his forces came to Seagate. Ero's father was killed, and he and his mother fled on a ship to Gwasar. When they arrived, they found the land to be a barren wasteland. They eventually found other people, and they met Skull, a man who taught Ero how to survive in the wilderness. Eventually, though, Ero's mother and Skull both died, leaving Ero alone, and he just kind of gave up on people and started traveling by himself and closing himself off for quite a long time until he met someone here by this lake.
And I met a woman here. Scales as beautiful as the snow on these mountains. Just as close to death as I. Donea was her name. Well, we lived here, fresh water, for over a year. Scraped by together, I found belief again. And Strife Emperor's forces stumbled upon this place. Probably as badly in need of water as we had been. And they fell on us. Slashed my throat, almost died that day. She killed 3 of them before they killed her. Right there on that rock. murdered the last of them with a stone and fled. Could hear more coming. And I gave up. Again. It's been a long life. I gave up again. But when I lived here with her, she used to say that change was coming. Maybe we wouldn't see it, but it would come one day. Now here we are again. And she was right all those years ago.
Thank you so much, Liam O'Brien, for making me feel so sad once again with your character. Phaedra tells Eru that he clearly hasn't given up because he has fought so much to keep them all safe and that change is in his heart. Garen says Danae changed Eru and Eru has changed them, and so her influence of change will continue to spread out. An absolutely beautiful, bittersweet idea. Garen takes his chisel and carves into the stone. Change is coming. They continue to head up the mountains and eventually come to a flat part of rock, which Phaedra notices seems a little off and not naturally formed. She sees a small crack in the rock and she inserts her stiletto dagger, hearing a click. A section of the cliff face rolls away, revealing a secret chamber behind it. It's giving The Hobbit, which was like my favorite book as a kid. I love a little secret hidden cache of things. So heading inside, they go down some stairs and see that this is sort of a repository of knowledge and artifacts. There are books and scrolls and weapons and chests and all kinds of things that have been hidden away, and the place is well tended, and it's clear that someone was here recently. On the other side is another set of stairs leading out to a different spot of the mountains. As they look around, Eru notices a silver shield with the symbol of the Platinum Dragon, and he immediately recognizes it as his mother's shield. She was a paladin of the Order of the Last Banner, and he last saw this shield when he was 11.
There has never been a week like this week.
This shield is, you guessed it, a vestige of Divergence called Honor's Last Stand, which appears in Tal'Dorei Reborn. In its dormant state, it grants a +1 bonus to AC, and the bearer can't be knocked prone. I would love to know the story of how Eru's mother got a vestige of Divergence. No idea how. Obviously, she was a very, very faithful follower of the Platinum Dragon, so perhaps the Platinum Dragon gifted it to her much in the way as the Stormfather gifted the belt to Crocus. Maybe it just, kind of turned up one day. I would love to know more. This isn't the only vestige, though. Phaedra finds a magical key, the Infiltrator's Key, which you can find in Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. It is a skeleton key which was forged with the blood of 12 master thieves, very heavy metal, and it grants advantage on ability checks made to open locks and advantage on stealth checks. She also finds a hammer, which she gives to Garen. It is carved with dwarven runes and the symbol of the Allhammer. This vestige is called Hearth's Hammer, and it's kind of a new one. It isn't listed in any of the source books, so far its abilities are still a bit of a mystery at the moment. Phaedra also finds a dark, shadowy crossbow called Condemner? How do you say that word? Condemner. You know what I mean. Also found in Tal'Dorei Reborn, which grants the wielder a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls, a bonus 1d4 poison damage, and once per day Fog Cloud or the Silence spell. Nia finds another new vestige, a beautiful hand mirror called the Moon's Mirror, and when she looks into it, she sees her sister's face smiling at her before turning and heading up the stairs. Nia unknowingly uses the mirror's powers to turn invisible and races up the stairs looking for her sister. Meanwhile, Crocus has been looking in a chest which is labelled a Agrupnin Vault, and the screech I screeched when that name was dropped. Seret Agrupnin was the name of Travis's character in EXU Calamity. He was an Aarakocra or an Aesfura, an investigator in the flying city of Avalier. He had 2 children who were able to escape the city when the Calamity began, and he also managed to escape, and while we never found out what happened to him, I like to dream that he reunited with his children and lived a happy existence despite the Calamity going on. Seret's daughter, Maya, was given an orb by Marisha's character, Paisha Porco, that contained all of her knowledge of Avalier and the Arcane and all of her memories, just basically a huge repository of knowledge.
I take the library. And I take my sphere of power that I have inscripted, every scroll, every text, every memory of mine, every conversation, every backhand deal, every happy memory. that I have possessed in my power. I take both of them in my hand, and I cast teleport to Maya, Saret's children.
This orb, the Orb of Avalier, is in the chest that Crocus opened, and it began to float up and slotted itself into the amulet of the Knowing Mentor in the space made by the two hands, and Crocus is filled with all of that knowledge. Marigold. Gaining a +6 bonus to his intelligence and a +4 bonus to wisdom. This was such a fun detail because we've been speculating about what happened to that orb ever since EXU Calamity finished. There's been this long-held theory that Maya used the orb to found the Cobalt Soul, an organization devoted to preserving knowledge in the name of the Knowing Mentor, and this cache could be a part of that. Or I don't know, I think it's more likely that maybe the idea is that someone else might have found it and used the orb to begin the Cobalt Soul after Crocus's time, or, maybe the orb has nothing to do with it. I would love to hear your thoughts. The reason I think that maybe it wasn't Maya that did it was because it became clear later on from the visions that it was the moonweaver, Liana, who kind of gathered all of these items together rather than this sort of being something that Maya set up as like a little secret repository of knowledge. But who knows? It's also really funny to me that this orb ended up becoming part of the Knowing Mentor's amulet, because Avalier was a place and Paisha was a person that held very little regard for the gods, so that's just kind of funny to me. Meanwhile, Nia ascends the stairs leading out of the mountain and sees her sister Liana on a distant mountain peak. Nia calls out in joy to her, telling her to come back as she can't get to her. Liana, however, says they could think of no other way before collapsing dead. Nia cries out in anguish, scrabbling to the edge of the cliff, distraught and raging at the world, that she would come this close to finding her sister and then have her taken from her so unfairly. But even in this rage and distress, she doesn't stop believing, and she holds these sorts of two sides of herself, the one who feels hurt and disappointed that her god would allow this, and the one that fully believes in her god still.
She can be whole and still be contradicting.
Snow. Wind. Your God has let you down, but you believe in your God. The world has let you down, but you believe in the world.
The others realize Nia is missing and rush out in time to see her step off of the cliff, but in her belief, she doesn't fall, and instead she walks on a beam of moonlight. She reaches Liana's dead body and weeps before a figure made of moonlight bearing the face of Liana appears.
I didn't want to say goodbye. I didn't know how much I'd want to stay.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't say it now. Just... please don't say it. Just...
She hugs you and says, I promise you that a day is coming where we will be sisters forever in the moonlight. And I hope that day is very far away.
Not too far.
This was a massive twist that I did not see coming. Her sister is the Moonweaver. She sent part of herself to become immortal, just as we saw the gods do in EXU Downfall, and her reasoning for this was because she knew that the gods were planning on erecting this divine gate, which is the magical barrier that prevents the gods from existing in the mortal realm, and she wanted to ensure that she felt a love that could transcend the gate and still go through it. She was born into Liana as a baby, and slowly she came to know who she truly was, the Moonweaver. Liana is dead because the Moonweaver is leaving. In fact, she is the first god to leave Exandria behind, and she charges Nia with showing the world that just because the gods are gone from the mortal realm does not mean they are really gone.
You'll watch us, though. From that place you go to, where you cannot reach us.
She looks up at the moon and smiles. In all of the vastness of realms divine, no gift was greater than one mortal life with you.
Just hugs her.
She embraces you.
Sobbing, openly sobbing, weeping, shaking, crying.
This was so beautiful. I really loved this story beat, and it just made me feel so many feelings. I have a sister who I love dearly, more than anything, and I just really enjoyed this idea of a god wanting to experience that kind of a connection with somebody, with a mortal, because we've seen that, saw that a little bit in Downfall, of this curiosity about what it's like to be immortal. We saw that Everlight really embraced that as well, having children herself, having a husband and a family, despite knowing that she would have to leave. Sort of this idea of experiencing love, even though when you experience love that ultimately you will end up experiencing loss and choosing to do it anyway. I just think that that's so beautiful. Oh, I loved it. The group discuss what just happened and what they plan to do now. Before leaving, Liana / the Moonweaver told Nia that their parents had made it safely to Vasselheim, so that's where Nia wants to go. The others agree to come with her, except for Garen, who says he will journey with them to the coast and then decide, as he really wants to head north back to the Cliffkeep Mountains, where he is from. Before they leave the secret room in the mountain, Ero writes in Celestial, "If the world is just, let hope be reforged," and pins it just inside the door. As they head out, those words ripple out and the Hallow spell is cast, protecting the room. For all we know, it could still be there, hidden away today, waiting to be found in a one-shot or another campaign. They begin to head west, hoping to find a port and a ship. They spend several days traveling through what is now known as the Mornset countryside. As they travel, they encounter a herd of jungle treants, like giant living trees, who have been commanded by their mother, the Wild Mother, to surround the ashen lands of Rybat Cole. They speak with one who, once it finds out they are not followers of the Strife Emperor, gives them some magical nuts.
Would you like some magic nuts?
Yes.
It would
Yes.
be impolite to say, ooh.
Yes.
Coconut size. Fall from his head. You guys get. I rolled a 7 and an 8 on 2d8. You guys get 15, not potion, but nuts of healing.
All
God,
right.
I love nuts of healing.
Oh, what? These nuts?
Now, sir.
These treants likely founded the Rife and Mist jungle, which now stands in present-day Taldore. Days go by and they travel without incident. As they travel, Ero begins teaching Crocus some Draconic. After a few days, they come across a terrifying sight, a whole encampment of Asmodeus's forces. As they watch, a huge herd of unicorns stampedes through the camp, destroying tons of devils. However, several devils and imps attack the party and they roll initiative. I kind of forgot how dangerous fights are for these guys because, they have all these magic items now, but it became pretty apparent when Phaedra, who has only 7 hit points total, was immediately dropped. They're able to take care of each other, though, with the healing nuts, and Ero's shield, on his last stand, becomes awakened.
You feel something call out to you in this moment. And this devil standing before you, as he misses this attack, some thundering voice from some distant place calls out. Maybe it's your mother or your father going, "When the enemy has told you that he will see to the destruction of all that you hold dear, and he presents you with advantage, never let it go to waste." He misses the attack, your shield enters the awakened state.
Now that the shield is awakened, it has even more abilities. It now gives a +2 to AC, extra damage on shove attacks, and a reaction to shove attackers who miss. The group managed to defeat the imps, and the rest of the devils are run off by the unicorns and other forces of the Archheart, who is the god of beauty and magic. They are greeted by a unicorn called Lumia, who asks if they're okay. Lumia tells the group that there are only 2 betrayers left, and it won't be long before they are defeated and all the gods leave, an eventuality which it clearly feels a lot of grief about. Garen asks if there is a way for them to get to Vasselheim, and the unicorn tells them of a nearby road flecked with white stone that leads to a deep water harbour. Perhaps there they can find a ship. They find the road and begin to follow it, and the journey is safe and uneventful. Eventually, the road ends and they come to a small village which had been abandoned, but folks have recently started moving in again. They meet the de facto mayor of this new town called Armley.
What's the name of this place?
I don't know. It's just by the road's end. There was an old road right here, but... By road's end? I don't know.
Okay.
So this is the beginning of Byroden, a town that comes to play a big role in the campaigns of Critical Role, as it is where Vexalia and Vaxeldam were born, as well as Opal. It's really fun to see the origin of that name there, Byroad's End, Byroden. Armley says he knows someone who might be able to help them and sends over Tristan, a person who seems to have some merfolk origin, yet another mention of merfolk that we are still yet to meet in Exandria. Tristan says he will gladly travel with them to the port. Once they arrive there, they see that there is indeed a deep water harbour, but there are no ships. He suggests that maybe they could wait here for one, while Eris says maybe they should move up the coastline. They make camp for the night, having not yet made a decision about what to do. As they rest, Phaedra hears a voice coming from her key.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello, Key. Can you hear me?
Yeah, who are you?
Key? The key? I'm a key?
You can talk?
Yeah, you can talk. Why can't I talk?
That's fair, I guess. Never really considered that. What are you talking to me for?
I'm supposed to open stuff. Doors?
Yeah.
You open a door because people are trying to get somewhere, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So this vestige is now awakened, and in this state you can use a bonus action to turn the key into a dagger or back into a key again. It also grants the ability to cast the spells Alter Self, Invisibility, Knock, or Pass Without Trace once a day. The key tells Phaedra that it can sense a door nearby, which is bobbing up and down. A door on a ship. The key sends a message to the door asking the door to ask the ship to come here, but the group remain kind of dubious.
You don't have to believe me. The proof will be in the pudding, and a big bowl of pudding is sailing right here, and you're all gonna get as much pudding as you can handle tomorrow.
Okay. That sounds great.
But the next morning, just as promised, a ship appears in the harbour. It is captained by an old human warrior of Vasselheim, Grenalin, a man who used to be an old friend of Aero's parents. Grenalin says he can take them to Vasselheim, and they head aboard. Garen lingers though, unsure whether he should join them or if he should continue north.
It's been a hell of a walk, hasn't it?
Come with us.
I got one more journey in me.
Yes.
And I need to see what's left at the Cliff Keep. I lost everything there 100 years ago, and I don't know if I have the strength in me to find my way back. You do.
If it's not within you.
I know you do. I'm so tired, and these years are weighing on me more than ever. Something is holding. We five together now. Go a little further, and I will get you the rest of the way.
He means it.
I'm also scared to be on a ship. It's
No, I don't like.
And with that, the ship departs, headed for Vasselheim, the Dawn City. What a fun episode. I loved how many lore drops we got this week, and also seeing this sense of hope growing and growing. You know, I was actually really worried after episode 1 that this was going to be a super bleak series, but I'm very happy to have been wrong about that. I'm sure there are still going to be many like tears on the horizon, but I'm glad to see that it does sort of have this more hopeful focus. I do keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I think that's just because this sort of isn't the way we're used to seeing these stories play out. Something that they actually discussed in the cooldown. You know, normally things get like worse for the characters and then get better, rather than like this story, which starts in a really, really bad place and then is just getting progressively better and better, and feels like hopefully it's going to end on a good note. I would hope so. With only one episode left, I think we're going to see maybe a little bit of conflict in Vasselheim, as I'm sure like many of the faithful there will not be open to the idea of the gods leaving. But I think we're also going to see the Platinum Dragon and the Lawbearer show up in Vasselheim, because in Tal'Dorei Reborn it says that they arrived in Vasselheim to tell the people of their departure, a scene which I'm sure is going to be really bittersweet, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. As always, please let me know what you thought in the comments, and if you want to keep the discussion going, you can jump into my Discord. We've got a bunch of critter channels in there. It's a really fun place to hang out. There's a link in the description. Okay, I'll see you all soon. Bye!
I haven't checked, but I have to assume that there's a door behind which there's so much pudding.
Then we'll find it together. You and me, Key.
You and me!